We were the first children of a murderous world, or so we believed. Varkuun, our cradle, was a place of storms that could flay skin from bone, oceans that boiled with predators, and mountains that birthed fire. For millennia, we evolved beneath a sky that never loved us, surviving only through brutality and will. When we rose to the stars, we carried that truth with us. Only the merciless endure, and we endured better than all. Our banners spread across the Orion arm like a plague of iron wings. Worlds that defied us burned. Civilizations that resisted vanished into ash and record erasures. The galaxy bent, and we, Varkuun Dominion, forged in the crucible of Varkuun Prime, became the uncontested apex. The lesser species whispered a single name for us: Deathworlders. We wore that title as armor. Our empress, sovereign of the Black Sun, prepared our greatest campaign, the final unification war. One last conquest. One final silencing of the galaxy before eternal dominion. Our priests sang of destiny. Our generals swore the age of rivals had ended. Victory was not a hope. It was inevitable. The storm belonged to us alone. Then came the first omen. A Fringe colony. Gone. No survivors. No distress beacons. Only a scorch mark on a moon and fragments of alloy we did not recognize. Before we could analyze, a second omen struck. A Dominion cruiser discovered adrift, its hull carved open, metal warped as though it had tasted the breath of a star. The logs were corrupted. Except for one recovered transmission, 7 alien syllables. No translation. Rough, sharp, human. At first we dismissed it. Some forgotten primitive. Some uncharted scavenger tribe. But then the scouts returned. Their eyes, veterans' eyes, were wide with something I had never seen from warriors of our kind. Not rage. Not awe, fear. They spoke of a world more hostile than Varkuun, a world teeming with hunger and death, where evolution forged lunatics of resilience. A world whose dominant species did not kneel, did not hesitate, did not fear extinction. They laughed, the scouts said. Laughed even as they bled. Humanity. The word itself felt wrong in our mouths, soft and unthreatening, yet every new report grew darker. We were no longer the sole horrors birthed from a killer planet. For the first time in our proud, merciless history, our supremacy trembled on uncertain ground, and then the final omen. A simple transmission, decoded at last. We are here. No plea. No submission. No deference to the apex of the stars. Just a statement. A presence. That night, I stood on the balcony of the Obsidian Citadel, watching the black horizon of Varkuun Prime. For the first time, the storm whines sounded like warnings instead of hymns. Something was coming from beyond the mapped edge of our dominion. Something carved by an even crueler cradle than ours. Something that did not cower before the dark. A second species of Deathworlder. The first ripple of doubt touched our empire then, cold and thin as a knife's edge. We did not know it yet, but the age of Varkuun supremacy had already begun to die. And the age of humanity was preparing to rise. Soon we would face them. And when we did, the galaxy would learn which monster evolution had truly perfected. We believed we understood the galaxy. Every species we encountered fell neatly into one of 3 categories: those who submitted, those who ran, and those who died. When the humans arrived, small ships, unarmed, unescorted, and radiating naive optimism, we assumed they would be the easiest conquest of all. They approached our space not with fleets, but with envoys. Not with demands, but with greetings. Their diplomats stepped onto Varkuun's obsidian landing docks clothed in soft fabrics, not armor. Carrying gifts, not weapons. They bowed, they smiled, they spoke of coexistence. We answered with shackles. Their banners, peaceful and bright, were torn down and hung upside down in our war halls as decoration, trophies before a battle had even begun. We thought we were teaching them their place, how blind we were. Their envoy, a small, calm-eyed human with a voice like still water, issued a final warning before we silenced him. Do not start a war you cannot finish. We laughed. All of High Command laughed. For centuries, our empire had known only victory. The idea that frail, soft-skinned primitives from an insignificant blue world could threaten us? Absurd. We paraded them as captives, mocked their frailty, and dissected their technology with arrogance. Then came the moment our fate was sealed. The Empress ordered a lesson to be taught, to show humanity the cost of defiance. A precision strike, clinical, unquestioned. Our dreadships fell upon the sole frontier, vaporizing colonies that bore no weapons, held no soldiers. 3 million civilians erased in a single operation. Our generals applauded. Our nobles feasted. The Empress declared the matter settled. We expected them to break, to beg, to kneel. But the humans did not scream. They did not threaten. They did not send curses across the stars. They answered with silence. Days passed, then a week. Our sensors saw no mobilization, no retaliation, no plea for ceasefire. The High Command began to joke that perhaps humanity had no fight in them after all. I, however, felt something coiling in that silence, something waiting, something ancient. Then the message came. No music, no crest, no diplomatic preface. Just a vocal transmission, translated into our tongue with surgical clarity. We are coming. Not shouted. Not snarled, spoken, calm, absolute. It was then the chamber fell quiet. The laughter died. I saw it in the eyes of our war council, the first flicker of realization. This was not prey. This was not cattle. This was a predator that did not rage when wounded. A predator that did not boast, did not posture, did not tremble. A predator that waited, with patience born from a world that had tried to kill them since birth, and failed. And we, arrogant, blind, self-crowned gods of the Orion arm, had just given them a reason to bare their teeth. War had not yet begun. But in that moment we understood when humanity finally moved, it would not be to survive. It would be to end us. We expected a counterstrike, a symbolic retaliation. Perhaps a few border skirmishes, a crushed fleet or two, followed by negotiation or surrender. That was the rhythm of galactic war as we knew it. Violence contained by logic, aggression tempered by strategy and self-preservation. But humans did not arrive within the bounds of any logic we understood. They came like a verdict. The first human fleets tore into real space without warning. No diplomatic hail. No ceremonial declaration, no pre-battle posturing. Our early warning satellites detected nothing until their metal behemoths were already among us, engines burning like dying suns. Their vessels were inelegant slabs of brute engineering, armored monsters built not to impress, but to outlive hell itself. We fired first. They fired last. In the span of a single rotation, 3 of our frontier sectors fell silent. We listened to the battlefield intercepts, expecting rage. Instead, we heard laughter. Human soldiers joked as their dropships screamed through anti-orbital fire. Their Marines cursed cheerfully as they charged into hopeless choke points. Their medics shouted for tourniquets and combat stims with the same tone others used for dinner orders. Their pilots, even as their wings melted around them, spoke of round 2 and next runs. It made no sense. Pain did not slow them. Loss did not break them. Logic did not bind them. When Varkuun warriors were outnumbered, we retreated, regrouped, preserved strength for the next strike. Humans did the opposite. When cornered, they attacked. When surrounded, they advanced. When wounded, they fought harder. Their doctrine was barbaric, suicidal, insane, and horrifyingly effective. We watched squads fight after being torn open by plasma. Men and women stapled their own wounds and rose to charge again. Soldiers missing limbs still fired, still shouted orders, still crawled forward. There was no fear of death in them, only fury. Only purpose. This was not a counterstrike. This was a species-wide revenge. Each victory tightened their formation. Each loss sharpened their resolve. Their admirals did not sleep. Their machines did not cool. Their infantry did not break. Humanity moved with one voice, one fury, one terrible truth. They would not stop, not until the blood debt was paid. At last, our generals stopped calling them primitive. Even the Empress, unshaken by 100 campaigns, sat in silence as the holomaps bled red. We tried ambushes. They burned through them. We deployed psychological operations. Humans mocked them openly. We attempted to isolate their battle groups. They linked fleets faster than we could disrupt them. Every tactic that had crushed lesser civilizations only fed their momentum. Their commanders broadcast a single phrase before each engagement, a mantra that spread through our ranks like poison. If you want peace, prepare for total war, not peace through dominance, not peace through fear, peace through the annihilation of any force that dared threaten their own. And God's help us, they were very, very prepared. Humanity had shown us their diplomats. We put them in chains. Humanity had shown us their mercy. We answered with slaughter. Now humanity showed us their wrath. And as their fleets pushed inward, relentless, unstoppable, we began to understand a horror deeper than death. They were just getting started. Varkuun Prime, the black jewel of our dominion, the crown of the Varkuun Empire, the cradle of our supremacy. No species had ever approached it and returned. Its orbital rings blazed with thousands of weapon arrays. Its defense moons hummed with lethal precision. Its dreadnought guardians patrolled the gravity wells like hungry predators. We believed the throne world was untouchable, until they came. Human fleets appeared at the edge of our space, their approach measured, deliberate. No signals of surrender, no taunts, no war cries. Only the steady advance of steel and fire. Our orbital arrays detected them and engaged immediately, but they did not falter. They did not scatter. Their vessels seemed to anticipate our every move, weaving through our defenses with unnatural precision. The humans struck first at our communication satellites, severing the web that linked the Empire. Our sensors flickered and died under the precise fire of unknown weapon systems. Supply lines were cut, reinforcements trapped, and yet the humans pressed onward, relentless. The first drop pods hit the surface, and the true horror began. Small, fragile-looking mammals, humans, raced from the atmosphere, not like conventional soldiers, but like storms given flesh. In close-quarters combat, they shredded our elite troops, creatures bred for strength, endurance, and killing. Our claws, our armor, our superior numbers, none of it mattered. They struck, retreated, struck again, relentless, coordinated, almost impossible to predict. They had no hesitation. They had no fear. They had a plan, and they executed it with terrifying clarity. But the most chilling strike was not with fire or blade. It was with words. Across every channel, over every frequency, their voice reached us. Clear, calm, translated into the language of our dominion. We do not want your extinction. We want your surrender. Stand down and live, mercy. From a species we had tried to enslave, from a species whose colonies we had burned, whose civilians we had executed. They offered life where we expected fear, life where we expected submission. The citizens of Varkuun Prime whispered in disbelief. Soldiers faltered. Our empress bared her teeth in fury, unable to comprehend this defiance wrapped in benevolence. A predator that shows mercy is infinitely more dangerous than one that only knows violence. And for the first time, I understood. We were no longer hunting the humans. We were being judged by them. The siege continued, and as our empire's heart bled under their relentless assault, the shadow of doubt crept through the citadel. Humanity had arrived not to negotiate, not to fear, but to claim the dominion itself. The empress roared from her throne, her voice like rolling thunder across the obsidian citadel. No mercy! No surrender! Kill them all! Her command echoed through the corridors, demanded by rank and enforced by fear. Yet, even as her fury reverberated through our ranks, a quieter sound began to take root, a sound we were not trained to hear. Whispers, muted voices in bunkers, murmurs in dark corridors, quiet confessions from soldiers who had looked into human eyes and never slept the same again. Fear. We, the apex predators of the galaxy, the architects of death and destruction, had stumbled upon something alien, something we had never faced in all our centuries of conquest, a species that could make us afraid. Humans did not fight like other creatures. They mourned their dead, yes, but their grief did not fracture their resolve. Instead, it welded them tighter. Their bonds strengthened with loss. Their resolve hardened with pain. Where we anticipated chaos, they delivered precision. Where we expected despair, they inspired courage. Each battle became a paradox. The more they suffered, the stronger they emerged. Every plan we devised to exploit weakness crumbled under their unpredictability. We had mapped countless species, studied every culture, foreseen every strategy in the galaxy's history. Humans shattered each model. They did not retreat. They adapted. They did not falter. They endured. And most horrifyingly, they gave hope to the oppressed. Worlds we had subjugated for centuries began to whisper a forbidden name. Not ours, not of another empire. One word, humanity. Chains forged from conquest and terror began to splinter. Our allies faltered. Our subjects rebelled. And in the darkest hours of Varkuun Prime, I asked a question that should have been impossible. What if the galaxy needs these monsters? They were not merely soldiers, not merely warriors. They were a force beyond comprehension, a species born of struggle, refined by brutality, yet capable of mercy. They were catalysts. They were legends in motion. And we, the invincible Deathworlders, were beginning to understand that our place at the top of the cosmos was no longer guaranteed. Cliffhanger. Transition. And as the humans pressed forward, planet by planet, system by system, the Varkuun Dominion faced a terrifying new truth. Our supremacy was unraveling, thread by thread, beneath the shadow of these relentless, merciless, merciful monsters. The Varkuun Dominion teetered on the edge of annihilation. Star systems we had claimed for centuries lay in ruin, fleets shattered into drifting carcasses, colonies silent and smoldering. Cornered, wounded, desperate, the Empress called for a final gambit, a cataclysmic arsenal, a doomsday fleet the likes of which the galaxy had never seen. Starbreakers, dread beasts caged in artificial gravity, orbital annihilators, world crackers, the entire armada of our empire gathered in one last display of rage. The Empress swore the stars would bend or they would burn with us. Every remaining warship surged into position. Every dread beast roared in anticipation, their eyes alight with the fires of the Empress's command. Cannons glowed with the promise of oblivion. Planetary cores were marked, starships positioned to crush, annihilate, and sterilize. We would remind the galaxy that even predators, when dying, could bite. And then, the humans did the unthinkable. A transmission, calm, measured, reverberated across the void. Their fleet, though immense, slowed at our perimeter, not retreating, not faltering. Their message came clear, and in it was a proposition none of us anticipated. Stop the war. End the slavery. Let the galaxy breathe, no threats. No conditions beyond morality. No demand for tribute, no seizure of territory, no humiliation. Just a simple, horrifyingly honest offer of peace. The Empress's claws clenched around the command staff. Her fury shook the bridge like a tectonic shift. She refused. The humans did not flinch, and then all at once the final battle erupted. Millions of warships collided in a storm of metal, fire, and plasma. Oceans boiled beneath orbital bombardments. Stars dimmed as colossal engines lit the void. Human squadrons tore through our lines with terrifying precision. Their ground forces moved in synchronization impossible to anticipate. Each action, each strike, seemed preordained, not by conquest, not by rage, but by some deeper, almost sacred purpose. They were not fighting to enslave. They were not fighting to destroy. They were fighting for everything else, for the galaxy itself. And in that moment, I, the chronicler, the survivor, saw the truth too late. We had never been the apex. We had never been the unstoppable. The humans were something else entirely, a force the cosmos had not accounted for. The Empress's screams echoed across the battlefield as our armada shattered. The last stand of the Dominion would not be remembered for our power, but for the day humanity proved unstoppable. Not for vengeance, but for the galaxy's salvation. The Obsidian Citadel, seat of the Varkuun Empire, trembled beneath the advance of human forces. Our last defensive line had shattered hours earlier, leaving the throne world exposed. The ground quaked as human marines, small and seemingly fragile, stormed through the corridors, cutting down the final pockets of resistance with horrifying efficiency. Our warriors, bred for strength and terror, fell as if the very laws of nature had betrayed them. The Empress, sovereign of the Orion Arm, The predator who had commanded legions and annihilated entire systems was cornered atop her throne. Her armor bore the scorch marks of plasma. Her claws had broken the steel of command consoles, yet even she could not escape the inevitability of defeat. Human soldiers surrounded her chamber, weapons trained not with malice, but with disciplined restraint. She expected the end. Death. An execution befitting the ruler of the galaxy's most feared empire. She braced herself, her eyes ablaze with fury and disbelief. But humanity, in its unthinkable clarity, did not deliver the end she expected. Instead, they extended a mercy so profound, so alien to the concept of conquest, that it shattered her. Exile, no chains, no humiliation, no ritualistic killing. Just a simple decree. She would live, but stripped of command, stripped of dominion, stripped of the fear that had been her empire's spine. The silence that followed was heavier than any scream, heavier than the roar of warships. The banners of the Varkuun were lowered. Our enslaved subjects were freed. Our fleets were disarmed. The galaxy exhaled, finally unburdened by our tyranny, and yet even in defeat, we lived. Humanity had chosen to leave us alive. They could have ended us in a single stroke. They could have erased the Dominion from history. Instead, they saved their enemy. I, a chronicler of our downfall, still cannot comprehend the human heart. Their mercy was not weakness. It was an instrument of power far greater than annihilation. In sparing us, they demonstrated a truth we would never forget. Greatness lies not in domination, but in choice. This is why the galaxy will never forget their name. Our empire lay in ruins, yet humanity's shadow stretched across the stars, a reminder that survival alone does not define strength. Mercy, resolve, and unity do. And from that shadow, the galaxy learned to fear and to hope in equal measure. The galaxy breathes again, yet it is not the fragile, trembling breath of a world freshly freed. It is steady, deliberate, measured, the breath of a cosmos watched over by those who earned its vigilance. Humanity does not rule through fear or domination. They do not parade empires beneath banners of blood. They stand as guardians, vigilant and unwavering, ensuring that chaos does not reclaim what was fought for, ensuring that no predator rises unchecked. Worlds once silent beneath our yoke now sing with voices liberated from centuries of fear. Cities flourish where ash once reigned. Oceans teem with life unmolested. And we, the former apex predators, the Deathworlders, the unchallenged storm of centuries, live beneath their shadow. Not in chains, not in humiliation, but in consequence. Every action we take, every decision we make, is measured by the quiet knowledge that a species exists that will not hesitate to strike should tyranny awaken again. I write these words as the last historian of the fallen Dominion, a witness to our own hubris and folly. I write neither in praise nor in wrath, but as a warning to those who come after us. The galaxy is not shaped solely by strength. Strength alone does not command respect, nor does it forge legends. What defines greatness is the restraint to wield it, the wisdom to temper fury with mercy, and the courage to act when justice demands it. Humans embody that paradox. Compassion wrapped in fury, kindness forged in fire. Monsters who learned mercy, tempered by the cruelty of a world that could have broken them, yet did not. They fight and they spare. They destroy and they protect. They are not merely survivors. They are a standard, a force that even apex predators must reckon with. And so the galaxy fears them, and it follows them. Because once we believed we were the only Deathworlders, we were wrong. Beneath their shadow, we endure, and beneath that same shadow, the galaxy learns a new truth. Power without mercy is transient, but a species that chooses when to show it becomes immortal. The war is over, but its resonance still pulses across the galaxy like the dying vibrations of a supernova. Worlds once drenched in fear now hum with life, and even the blackened ruins of our former colonies carry the faint scent of renewal. Survivors whisper stories of the humans, the storm-born species that swept across the stars, leaving both devastation and salvation in equal measure. They moved like hurricanes, precise and unstoppable, yet offered mercy where annihilation seemed inevitable. Their actions became legend, passed in quiet tones across every species, every world, every survivor who bore witness. Former slaves of the Varkuun Dominion flourish under their guardianship. Cities rise where dust had long settled. Oceans teem with life untouched by predatory claws. Trade networks thrive. Culture blooms. And everywhere the same name is spoken, humanity, a name now etched into the conscience of the galaxy, simultaneously inspiring awe, respect, and cautious obedience. I record these events as a historian of the fallen Dominion, chronicling the echoes of their presence. I do not write to glorify humanity, nor to absolve the horrors of war, but to capture the imprint of a species that redefined what it means to wield power. We, the Varkuun, once untouchable apex predators, now study humans not to conquer, but to understand. Each act of restraint, each deliberate choice to spare when destruction was possible, reshapes the way we measure strength. Fear has replaced arrogance in our hearts. Respect has replaced contempt. And slowly, reluctantly, we recognize a fundamental truth. The future of the galaxy will no longer be dictated by the strongest alone. It will be shaped by those who choose when and how to use their strength, those who temper fury with purpose and conscience. In the silent expanse between stars, I hear it still, the faint hum of fleets, not of war, but of vigilant guardianship. Humanity watches, waits, and ensures the balance endures, ever vigilant, ever present. And so, the galaxy learns to move under the shadow of a species that could have destroyed us, yet chose mercy instead, and the echo of their deeds will reverberate for generations to come. Centuries have passed since the flames of war finally died. The galaxy, once scarred by the ambition of empires and the tyranny of apex predators, now moves to a steadier rhythm. Planets that trembled at the mere shadow of the Varkuun Dominion celebrate life instead of fearing it. Civilizations once silenced by conquest now flourish, inventing, exploring, and living freely. And through it all, the shadow of humanity stretches across the stars, shaping the galaxy with quiet, inexorable influence. We, the Varkuun, former apex predators, walk beneath that shadow humbled. The legends we once believed belonged solely to us are now shared, reshaped, and reframed by a species we once sought to dominate. Humanity has taught the cosmos a lesson that transcends brute strength. True power is tempered by restraint, true leadership is defined by mercy, and true survival is achieved through unity. Where we spread fear and submission, they sow hope and resilience. Worlds once deemed lost now thrive under their guidance. Across the corners of known space, the mantra humans once spoke in the early days of war is now echoed by many. If you want peace, prepare for total war, but choose wisely when to fight. I write this testament as the last chronicler of the Varkuun Dominion, not to condemn, nor to idolize, but to preserve a record for those who may rise in arrogance or ignorance. History has revealed a truth we learned too late. Greatness is not claimed through conquest alone. It is forged in the wisdom to wield strength with purpose, in the courage to temper fury with mercy, and in the relentless commitment to protect rather than destroy. Under the watchful stars of humanity, the galaxy thrives. Every world remembers, every species learns, every predator understands that power alone is fleeting, but the choice of how, when, and why to use it endures. Humanity's shadow, terrifying, merciful, eternal, reminds us all that true power is not taken. It is chosen. And so the legacy of the Deathworlders is rewritten. Survival is no longer the dominion of the strongest alone. It belongs to those who temper their strength with wisdom, who fight when necessary, and who spare when possible. Humanity's shadow endures, and the galaxy will never forget it. The galaxy stirs, not with the tremors of fear, but with the quiet pulse of awakening. Systems once cowering beneath the claws of tyrants now breathe freely. Civilizations long crushed by conquest rebuild, forging alliances that stretch across the void. Trade routes hum, not with tribute demanded, but with knowledge exchanged. Worlds once silent now sing with culture, science, and discovery. The lesson of humanity, so vivid in our memories, so impossible to ignore, has begun to ripple through every corner of existence. The Varkuun walk among them, humbled and transformed. No longer apex predators, no longer the unchallenged storm of the Orion arm, we serve as witnesses, historians, and students of this new order. We record not to glorify ourselves, but to understand the path the galaxy now follows. Empires we once crushed are rising not through subjugation but through unity and purpose. Former slaves, freed from centuries of oppression, thrive under the vigilance of humans who never impose, but guide. The galaxy learns a profound truth. Survival is not dictated by sheer strength, nor by domination alone. True evolution is tempered by empathy, by cooperation, and by the wisdom to protect what one holds dear. Planets once forgotten in the shadow of war shine now as centers of art, learning, and diplomacy. Even in their rare appearances, humans inspire doctrine across star systems. Leaders, generals, and scholars speak a phrase that has become a mantra for the galaxy. Measure power not by what you can destroy, but by what you can protect. Even in the absence of war, the mere presence of humanity reshapes thought, strategy, and morality. The echo of their deeds spreads, a silent yet unyielding influence. Whispers traverse the void, tales of a species forged by hardship, tempered by fire, yet choosing mercy over destruction. One species, they remind all, can alter the course of galaxies without annihilating them, and so the galaxy awakens, alert to the vigilance that never sleeps. Every civilization, every race, every system now measures its actions against the standards set by humanity. Their shadow stretches across the stars, an eternal benchmark of power, wisdom, and restraint. The galaxy thrives beneath this unbroken shadow, knowing that vigilance is eternal, and that the legacy of humanity will guide, challenge, and inspire for generations yet to come. Centuries have passed, yet humanity's shadow endures across the galaxy. They are no longer merely remembered, they are revered. Planets once trembling at the claws of predators now flourish, free to explore, invent, and thrive. The Varkuun, once apex predators, walk humbly among the stars, chronicling the history of a species that redefined what it means to be a Deathworlder. We record not to elevate ourselves, but to preserve the lessons humanity left for all life. That true greatness is not measured by conquest, but by choice. Humanity's legacy is not built on domination, nor on the fear of other species. It is built on the conscious decision to spare when they could destroy, to protect when they could exploit, and to uphold life while wielding unmatched strength. Across the galaxy, civilizations have adopted this principle. Planets once isolated now unite through diplomacy, knowledge flows freely, and exploration replaces conquest. Conflict remains possible, yet the precedent is clear. Strength without wisdom is hollow. Power without restraint leads only to ruin. Even now, species across the stars whisper the truth that humans embody. Survival and supremacy are not the same. To be immortal in legend is not to crush rivals beneath your claws, but to rise through choice, to temper fury with reason, and to temper might with mercy. Humans are immortal not because they are the strongest, but because they chose to define strength differently. They became architects of possibility, guardians of life, and beacons of restraint in a universe long dominated by fear. Beneath their eternal watch, the galaxy flourishes. Every civilization measures its actions against their example. And all who look upon the stars remember, the immortals of choice are not born. They are forged, tempered by hardship, and defined by mercy. Humanity's shadow stretches across eternity, terrifying, merciful, and unbreakable. And so the final truth is written in the stars. Power is not claimed, it is chosen. Humanity's shadow endures, a timeless standard by which all life is measured, and the galaxy will never forget it.